In this video, I'm going to talk about how to have your very first psychedelic journey or trip. My name is Alice, I'm from A Whole New High. Welcome to our channel. Okay, so if you are here and you would like to have your very first psychedelic journey, first of all, I need to tell you that I do not recommend using any illegal substances. So please have a look at the legalities in your country, and if you feel like you would like to do it anyway, then I'm just going to give you some tips for harm reduction. The very first thing you need to do if you want to have your very first psychedelic journey is to choose your substance. There are different psychedelic substances around. You have psilocybin, which are magic mushrooms or magic truffles. You have ayahuasca. You have MDMA, but that's not really a psychedelic, so that would be another video. Then you have San Pedro, you have the toad medicine, you have Iboga. Now, many of these substances are not very good beginner substances. Like, I would never recommend to someone to go and have an Iboga journey or a toad medicine journey or even a yopo journey as the very first thing that they do, because they are very intense substances. Like Iboga, for example, is a journey that will last almost 3 days. This is not something you want to do as your very first experience to get to know the psychedelic world. I mean, some people might want to, but I don't recommend that. Then you have ayahuasca, which some people do as their very first psychedelic experience, and some people have a very amazing experience, and some people have a very an experience full of struggles, because ayahuasca also is a very intense substance. So here I wouldn't say don't do it as your first experience, but I still would not recommend it as the best substance to to come into the psychedelic world. So I would say the two substances which are good starter substances are psilocybin and LSD. However, now we have the difference of psilocybin just lasting 6 hours and LSD lasting 12 hours, which is a big difference if you do it for the first time. So here, again, because of this difference, I would either say an LSD journey like on a quite low dose, because then it will not last the full 12 hours. It will stop slower, it will stop earlier because you have lowered the dose, or a psilocybin journey. Anyway, I personally think a psilocybin journey is really amazing to enter the psychedelic world, because first of all, it is legal in several countries. Second of all, it is you can't say a plant because a fungi is not a plant, but it is something natural. It comes from our natural world, while LSD is made in the laboratory. So you have the plant spirit, even though it's not a plant. You have the spirit of the fungi leading your journey, and you will really feel that, and it will open your mind. And I need to say I'm maybe also a little bit biased because I work with psilocybin, and my very first psychedelic journey was a magic mushroom experience, and it was such an amazing experience for me. And I know that it's, as a first substance, like working with lots and lots of people who have it as their very first journey, they have an amazing journey. So I do think that it's a really good substance as a first timer. It is much more gentle than ayahuasca. It is no less intense. It can get very intense as well, but it is easier to navigate. It's not as forceful as ayahuasca can be sometimes. It's not always. But psilocybin is more easy to like open and close doors, and you still have like a little bit more control on your journey, which I think for a lot of people makes your very first journey feel safer. You know, there are other people that just love to go in full all in, and they will have a good experience with any substance. But if you're somebody who is a little bit anxious, who worries a little bit, who likes to keep control, then a psychedelic journey is a big deal, and psilocybin is the substance that opens that door for you, in the most gentle way. That's why I think it's a very good beginner substance. And it is also legal in the Netherlands, in Jamaica, in Mexico, if it's given by indigenous people. It's decriminalized in Portugal, in Spain, in Austria. Well, then you have several cities in the US where it's decriminalized. Now, no matter what substance you decide to take, the next step would be to decide, do you want to do it with a guide therapist or a shaman, or do you want to do it alone? As a very first experience, I really recommend not to do it alone. I would at least have a sitter. The very first time I did it with one of my very best friends, who was my sitter that day. And that just gave me a sense of safety. And this sense of safety is really important to go into the experience. For anybody who has like a little bit of fear going into the experience, the substance will amplify your feelings. So if you do it alone and you're really scared about doing it alone, it will amplify this fear and you will end up extremely scared. So having somebody next to you that you trust, that you know, like if anything goes wrong, they can help, will give you that feeling of safety that will then be amplified when the substance kicks in. So that is something very, very important. If you do choose a therapist, guide, or shaman, you need to find somebody that you trust. If you feel like you don't fully trust that person, then it's not the right person for you. If you have thoughts about like, oh yeah, my 10 friends went to this shaman and they thought it was an amazing experience, but you look at that shaman maybe just online, or you have met him or her, and you get that initial feeling of, ooh, I don't trust this person, but I should, because 10 of my friends have already been there. It's not a good idea. You need to have that trust feeling towards the guide, shaman, therapist. That is one of the most important things. So you need to find somebody that you trust and who's knowledgeable. It's if you just have a sitter that as soon as you are in fear which can happen, when you're in a psilocybin experience or any psychedelic experience, it can amplify your emotions. It can bring up emotions from your childhood that were suppressed, and maybe you had a moment in your childhood where you're in terror, in fear, something happened that made you really, really scared. And that can just be like you had to spend the weekend at the hospital and your parents couldn't be there. This is such a trauma for a child. And in that moment, because nobody was there, say you were 4 years old and 2 days in the hospital by yourself, you're in so much fear, you can't handle that as a 4-year-old. So you will cut off that fear of your consciousness, but it will still be there. It's not just because you suppressed it doesn't mean it's gone. It's still in your subconscious mind. So on any psychedelic that you take, a fear like that can come back and you will feel it so real, as if it was happening in this exact moment. So now if you have somebody next to you who does not know that this kind of fear can come up, and you just tell him, I am in terror, I'm so scared, I feel so alone, and this person just answers, don't worry, you're here, I'm here with you, I'm fine with you, you don't have to be scared. It's like completely invalidating your reality in that moment, and that might make you think you're crazy on top of your fear. So this is very important, to have somebody who knows in that moment what to do, who will validate your emotions, who will know that you are in a different reality, but it is completely real for you. And that what you need to have in that moment is somebody who can join you in that reality and validate your emotions in that reality, Because if somebody does that, that's the only way to move through the emotions and meet you on the other side. Like, you go through the dark, you go through the uncomfortable to end up in the light and in the comfortable. It's the release of these emotions. So you need to have somebody with you who knows for you how to release these emotions. And this is just for the worst case scenario, of course, because with psilocybin you can have the most amazing first journey where you do not go into any fear, where you just feel how beautiful the world is, how much light there is, how we're all one, how you can connect to nature and to other people, and you like feel very grateful for all the love you have in your life. This is very often the first trip, like of people who do this for the first time. But there can always be moments where fear comes up. And for some people, their very first experience is just fear after fear after fear after fear. So to be more protected, and I'm doing this video for like harm reduction purposes, I really recommend that you have somebody with you who knows how to deal with negative, uncomfortable emotions coming up. Yeah, so if you do it with a shaman, a therapist, or a guide, they will advise you about which dose to take. But if you do choose that you want to do it alone with a sitter at home, then you need to choose your dosage. And here I can give you, like, I really would not recommend that you do ayahuasca or San Pedro at home alone with a sitter, because they're very intense substances. Iboga, definitely not, because 1 in 300 people can die from it. But if you decide that you want to do psilocybin or LSD alone at home, again, I don't recommend it, but they are the most, these are the least harmful substances where compared to the others. Then you need to decide what dosage to take with psilocybin or LSD. And you can take, now the dosage is, it's very relative, because if you're a very sensitive person, then you might need less. If you're a person who generally needs more medicine, you might need more of psilocybin and LSD too. But that's to find out. And if you are very sensitive, you probably know that you're very sensitive, so you should take less than what I'm saying now, but I give you a general idea. If you take 1 gram of dried psilocybin mushrooms, it's a very light trip. It will open you up a little bit to this, like if you do it in the forest, the spirit of the forest, or if you're doing it at home with a mask, it will really help you to go inside, but you will still be very much in control of the experience with 1 gram. If you do 2 gram, which I think is a very good beginner's dose, you will have a way more intense experience. You will still be there a little bit to navigate it, but you will have moments where you can't navigate it, where the substance will take over you, but then there will be other moments where you can come back and be a little bit more in control. Then you have 3 grams, which is already, you are quite far out there, and can be very intense. 3 grams. You will not be able to navigate it so well anymore, which can be a good thing, but only if you really have a therapist with you. Then you have 4 and 5 grams. At 5 grams, Terence McKenna called it the heroic dose. So this is like already the hero's journey. You will not be in control anymore, but you will still be able to, you will still have to navigate through the experience. And if you go higher than 5, it's like really, really intense. And you can go up to 40 grams. You know, some people do that. But if you do 40 grams, you will not be able to see the room that you're in anymore. it will be gone. You will not be able to walk to the toilet anymore. There will be no more floor to step on. It will be all a different dimension. So that's definitely not a beginner's dose. But you get an idea of the different dosages. Now with LSD, you have 60 microgram, which would be a low dose where you can still be more in control. Then you have about 100 to 150, which are which is a bit stronger, where you are still in control, but there will be times where you are not. Then you will have like 200 to 300, which is where you will start losing control. And anything higher than that is also kind of the heroic dose of LSD. Just to give you an idea, but I always recommend, even though I'm not allowed to recommend illegal substances, but for harm reduction purposes, I recommend to start with a lower dose and then boost after an hour. If you get to know the substance a little bit, like, oh, okay, that's what it feels like. I still feel safe. Then boost instead of throwing yourself right in there, and then you're like overwhelmed and you can't stop it. So if you go step by step to feel safe, it's important to feel safe. That's the most important thing in the psychedelic experience, because that will get amplified. So if it makes you feel more safe to take it a low dose first, see after an hour how do you feel, and then take the same dose again. So you end up in a feeling safer. This is for your very first experience I'm talking about. This is not a general experience, like for future experiences. And then the very last thing, but it's not the least important, is also extremely important, is your set and setting. What environment are you in and what mindset are you in? So the environment is really important if you do it for the first time, and if you want to do it consciously, and if you've never done it before, do it in a place where you feel safe, and don't do it at a festival where you have like lots of energies from other people around you that are going to, you will open your energy field so much, and then you have all these other energies around you that can really mess up your system, your trip. It can lead to a bad trip because you won't be able to navigate it very well. So if you want to have a very good, first, safe, conscious experience, you need to have an environment in which you feel safe. That can be at your home, it can be in the forest where you know nobody will come around. It can be in a safe space in your garden, wherever you feel safe. And then of course, if you are with a therapist, guide, or shaman, they will have a nice and safe environment already. And then the set is your mindset. It's like, what intention will you go into this journey with? And it's always good to think about an intention of what you would like to get out of the experience. Is there anything in your life that you would like to find the root cause of? Is there anything in your life that you would like, is there any question you can't answer that you would like this journey to help you with? Or do you just want to have a first psychedelic experience, to have the experience? But then your intention could just be, show me what I need to see. So it's always good to go in with an intention, and then also be very open to whatever shows itself, and don't go in with like expectations of things you have read about other experiences, but to really just be open to whatever needs to show itself will show itself. And not get frustrated because 5 other people had a different experience than you and you were hoping to get the same experience. Your experience will be different than the one of other people, that's for sure. And just be open to that. And feeling safe is the most important thing. So safe environment, safe person with you, knowing that if anything goes wrong, somebody is there to help you, and having an open mindset to be open to whatever needs to come, to be open to whatever needs to show yourself to you. So these were my tips for your very first experience for harm reduction, of course. Or if you want to journey, if you want to come to the Netherlands to have your first psilocybin journey, I lead people through psilocybin journey like all of us at the Whole New High do. We are trained therapists, we are psychedelic facilitators, we work with psilocybin truffles. We have worked with hundreds of people. So if you feel that there's a connection there, if you feel like you trust me, or if you trust one of the other members of the Whole New High, you can reach out to us, write to us. But it's just an invitation if you rather do it with somebody where you live. And if you have friends that have recommended somebody, do it with them. I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to our channel and have a look at the other videos that we have, and give us a thumbs up if you like this video, and I hope to see you here again soon. Thank you for watching.